American adults are affected by insomnia, characterized by middle-of-the-night awakenings with difficulty to returning to sleep. Nationally recognized sleep expert Dr. Joseph Lieberman is here to share some tips to have you sleeping like a baby. Good morning, Dr. Lieberman. Great to have you with us.
Well, thank you very much, Nikki. I'm glad to be aboard.
Well, let me ask you this. Why is insomnia characterized by middle-of-the-night awakening?
Okay, well, that's just one form of insomnia, Nikki.
Okay.
We see insomnia in a variety of forms. They have the insomnia of people who just can't get to sleep. Then we have another form of insomnia in people who wake up before they want to wake up. They may want to wake up at 7:30 and they wake up at 6.
Right.
But then there's this other group that gets to sleep and wakes up in the middle of the night, and they still have 4 or more hours of sleep time left, but they can't get back to sleep. That's the particular group that we're interested in.
Okay, so then what would be the cause of this, and why do some people have it and others don't?
Okay. No, that's a very good question, because the exact cause of insomnia are multiple. Okay. Many things can cause insomnia. There can be physical conditions such as an overactive thyroid gland or imbalances in your blood sugar or your breathing. There can be mental problems like chronic anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder. These things can all contribute to insomnia. Sure. Or you may have nothing contributing to it. You just have you're just a poor sleeper, and there are people out there that are that way.
Interesting. I mean, I know there's obviously a lot of things that sometimes keep us awake, whether it be noises or television or somebody snoring or what have you. But I think ultimately people just want to know what they can do to sleep better. So what tips can you offer to help patients if they're waking up in the middle of the night and they just can't go back to sleep?
Okay, well, the first thing I suggest they do is a don't. Don't turn on the lights.
Okay.
You know, don't turn on the television set. Don't turn on your iPad, because these forms of light trick your brain into thinking it's daytime, and so your brain is going to stay awake. So don't turn on any lights, and you don't need to get out of bed. Just stay in bed. And what you should do is check the time, because if you're going to be taking this medication that we're going to be talking about, you need at least 4 hours of sleep time remaining. So check the time, but then, Nikki, turn the clock so that it's facing the wall. You're not staring at the clock for the balance of the night. And then try and think. I characterize them as happy thoughts. Think about it's springtime in Albuquerque. Right. Don't think about the fight you have with your boss earlier in the day, or the schedule you're facing tomorrow. You know, those things that irritate or agitate you make it very difficult for you to sleep. Yeah, you get caught up in it, then you get irritated, and it's hard for you to get to sleep. So think happy thoughts. And then if things don't work, there's this medication that's available, this Intermezzo, which I'm working with Purdue Pharma, the company that developed it, and it's a very effective medication for treating this particular type of insomnia.
Okay, so so this is the newest treatment option now, and is this available for people who are suffering from this form of insomnia?
It just recently came out. What it is, Nikki, it's a reformulation of a product that we've been using for some time known as Zolpidem. Okay. You may know it as Ambien, and it's been around for a long time. But what Purdue did was they reformulated it into a tablet that dissolves under your tongue. Okay. You just place this under your tongue and it just dissolves and goes away. And you can use a much lower dose of the Zolpidem because of this delivery system, because there's a very rich blood supply underneath the tongue, and this medication is designed to get in your system very rapidly and give you a peak of the Zolpidem medication and induce sleep, but you can use a much lower dose, as I said, than the traditional Ambien dosages.
Well, now, and I know that you also mentioned if you do wake up and you have a couple hours left before you have to wake up, it's not a good time. I mean, for someone like me who does a morning show, I get up very early. What would be the time that you would recommend taking this so that you don't sleep through your alarm?
Right, yeah. No, you want to make sure you have at least 4 hours of sleep time if you're going to take this medication, because then otherwise you do run the risk of sleeping through your alarm, and that's not a good idea in your business. Yeah.
Absolutely not. But I mean, but there are a lot of people out there that are just ruffling and rumbling through their sleep, and they just want to be able to sleep better. So what will this new treatment mean for these patients?
Well, this will mean a lot, because we know the literature supports the notion that if you're not getting good sleep, if you're getting inadequate sleep, and then you have excessive daytime sleepiness during the day. So these are the patients who are at risk for falling asleep at the wheel, having accidents at the construction site, making errors on their job, and their quality of life isn't very good. You know yourself, as I know myself, when I don't get a good night's sleep, the next day can be pretty rough. Well, for people who have chronic insomnia, the 10% of the population that has chronic insomnia, this happens more nights than not, that they don't get a good night's sleep. So if we can relieve those patients who have this middle of the night awakening and give them good refreshing sleep, we're going to cut down on their accident rates, and we're going to cut down on the problems that are associated with inadequate sleep.
Absolutely. And I've also heard from a lot of trainers that do deal with diet and nutrition, that if you're not getting the proper amount of sleep, it's also not going to help you when you're in the process of trying to lose weight and get healthier for your body as well, not just for your mental state of mind and for being awake, but also for your weight. Is that true?
Yes. In fact, there was an article that was just published 2 weeks ago that demonstrated a link between obesity, diabetes, and disrupted sleep.
Interesting.
So disrupted sleep predisposes you to diabetes and obesity, and and we're finding out more and more of those sorts of associations. Sleep is very important and underrated.
Absolutely. Well, where can we go for more information, Dr. Lieberman?
Okay, there is a website. It's intermezzorx.com. That's spelled INTERMEZZO, pronounced intermezzo, spelled intermezzo, rx.com.
And that's a good word. When I think of an intermezzo, I think of a good sherbet on a good event. Thank you. That'll wake me up anytime. Thank you so much, Dr. Lieberman. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Nikki. It was a pleasure.
Great information, and we'll be right back.